12 o'clock p.m., January 6, 2020. I'm calling to order the reorganizational meeting for Warren County, Pennsylvania. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Thank you. Our first order of business is the selection of chair for the Board of Commissioners. This time I'll entertain a motion for a nomination of the chair.
I'll nominate Ben Cafferlin.
I'll second.
I accept, but I do want to note that I don't particularly want to serve as chair for the entire 4 years. So perhaps in 18 months or 24 months we could revisit shifting the chair. I think that it's an unhelpful tradition that the county has previously had, unlike other counties, to have the highest vote player necessarily take the chairmanship, and as a consequence I want to break that for good. So
very good. Any more discussion?
So, I mean, is it your thought that it would be like a third, or?
I think the board should select. My preference would not be to bind the board to any particular tradition, but instead each board can decide on their own what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So other counties do 2-year and 2-year majority.
Mm-hmm.
Some do 18-month roll. Some just pick, and I think that would be the best way to do it going forward. And that way, the board is able to first of all, being the chair does take a little bit more time, and as a consequence, I think it should ebb and flow with whomever is able and capable of doing it.
Just for consistency and clarity, I think that we should decide that, like, or have a discussion about it now, just so that everybody's clear. I don't have a problem with 2-year. I don't have a problem with a third. I don't have a problem with one person serving. So I'm ambivalent.
I would think through that because I guess being the new person here, I would want to have a better understanding of the chair's role to make a decision on what would be a good idea to move that on forward. So I guess my preference would be to revisit it at some point when I have a little bit better understanding and a little bit more depth and breadth of knowledge.
There's no rush.
So, you got 4 years.
No, I wasn't saying that. It's hard to weigh in on that decision when I'm not quite sure exactly, what that role will be going
There will
forward.
be things that will happen here that are called jokes. Ben, is there a look of surprise on the face? No.
It's good. It's all good.
I will say it's nice that you have your sense of humor back.
Well,
Maybe we get some afterthoughts.
there you go. Okay.
Okay. No, hearing no further discussion, I will receive a vote. This is a motion to appoint the chair for no set period at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. At this time, I will turn over guidance of the meeting to Chair Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you very much. This time I'll take motion for the vice chair.
Make a motion to make Trish Durbin the vice chair of the Warren County Board of Commissioners.
I'll second that. Do you accept?
I do accept.
Very good. Any discussion?
I'm here.
I don't think we need to bother closing nominations, so all those in favor of the vice chair, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations. In de facto, that makes you the secretary.
Commissioner's fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with being a secretary, it's just I do know secretarial work, and I think that term is irrelevant.
Fair enough. All right, next thing on the agenda. By the way, in preparation for this, I did skim through the entire county code in order to find anything related to the reorganization. And I found some really interesting things that I assume are now defunct, such as the fact that we can hire rattlesnake killers, which is fascinating, and fire marshals and all kinds of fun things. But the one, at the reorganizational meeting, there are these things that need to be accomplished: the selection of the chair and the vice chair, the adoption of rules, and appointment of solicitor and chief clerk. And then in addition to that, we'll also be confirming the times and meeting schedule for 2020, as well as board appointments from the commissioners. So the next thing I would like to bring up is the rules of order. De facto, we would be operating under a Robert's Rule of Order, which normally should just simply be adopted, but our recommendation is that we do what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years, which is Rosenburg's Rules of Order. It's slightly different in that it is crafted more for a board of 3, and because the president, the chair, should vote in commissioner meetings per the county code. I think Rosenburg's makes a little more sense than Robert's, but if there's ever a question, since Rosenburg's is like 5 pages long, then you revert back to Roberts. So my recommendation would be to re-adopt Rosenburg's Rules of Order.
Which I'm fine with.
Works for me.
Oh,
Do we need a motion to do that?
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead.
Your seat's.
I'm so used to just
Your
like,
seat's-
please, make a motion, go. By all means.
I will make the motion that we adopt Rosenberg's Rules of Order.
I will second that.
Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll make sure to forward the copy
Yes.
again, and then it should, it's been a little while, so I'll print out more copies and make sure that they're
Sure.
available for meetings initially.
Yeah, and I have a copy in my binder at all times.
I have a copy as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, okay. What's up?
Could I have a copy? I never heard of that. You gotta read that.
Sure. Another thing the county code specifies that we need to set the times and places of meetings. Now, the previous board, at least Commissioner Eggleston and I did already approve in 2019 the 2020 schedule so that Pam could get it in the newspaper and published. That said, I still think, to satiate my desire to live by the county code, that we should confirm those times and places as this board. I believe Pam sent an email to all of us recently. In general, what we're doing is having a noon meeting on the second Wednesday of the month here at the courthouse in the Jackson courtroom and available. And then on the fourth Wednesday, barring holidays and such, it will happen in the evening in this room or the courtroom, also in the courtroom. Very good. Continuing on with Monday noon work sessions, as that's a convenient time for the staff to join us and give updates, and the prison board meetings were moved from the fourth Tuesday to the third Tuesday, again, adjusting for holidays and such. Salary board got moved to before the commissioners meeting so that we can get any HR related updates and such, and also kind of helps cap the meeting. It'll go from 11 until noon if needed, and then at noon we'll dissolve that and move into the regular commissioners meeting. And then the retirement board meetings, those are quarterly around the closest commissioners meeting, I believe. Very good. So I don't have the schedule in front of me, but since it was sent to you, I may ask for a motion to confirm the times and places of the 2020 meetings. It was sent to you previously.
Did you get it? Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Yes, I've seen it.
Are you sure you don't want to make a motion?
I did already. It's your turn.
Oh, so we're doing
No,
I'll
I'm gonna have a heart attack over here.
I'll make a motion to adopt the times and places as was presented by Pam
And advertise.
and advertised.
Do I have a second?
I will second
Motion
that.
made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, the appointment of the solicitor.
Dun, dun, dun.
Attorney Nathaniel Schmidt has been doing an excellent job now for almost 2 years, a year and a half.
Actually, it will be
A year.
1 year on the 9th, on Thursday.
Oh,
Who's
okay.
counting, right?
I think he's been doing an excellent job, and I would ask that you move to approve his reappointment as the county solicitor. And you didn't amendments to the
No.
contract or anything, which continues on. Very good.
All right. I'll be glad to make that moment to appoint you as solicitor.
I will second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I'd just like to thank Attorney Schmidt for his work the past year, which I feel has been exemplary, and he's done a marvelous job, and it's been really refreshing to have, you know, someone with that breadth of knowledge and work ethic and everything. It's been very good. So thank you.
Yes. Very much
Thank you.
appreciate your work.
Yeah, look forward to continuing to serve the county and doing my best.
Thank you. With that, all those in favor of appointing Nathaniel J. Schmidt as the county solicitor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. Next, appointment of the chief and clerk. And by the way, one of the things that I looked at other counties as well as the county code to determine was whether or not we needed to appoint the solicitor and the chief clerk every year, as has been tradition, and I found that other counties do not. And so this time I would ask that the board approve Pam Matvey as the chief clerk for this coming term. She, by the way, is the 2019 CCAP chief clerk of the year, and has been doing an excellent job.
Top that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a national award somewhere, right?
Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second that, assuming that Pam is interested in doing it for the whole term.
In fact, I think that's probably relief.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is made, seconded, discussion from the board. Mr. Scully, public comment.
Am I correct in hearing you that you finally appointed the chief clerk for the duration of your terms this time in the courthouse?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm glad you fought, because you know I brought that up more than once.
Is this your way of asking us to say you were right?
No. But I think it takes a lot of pressure off of the three of you. And let's face it, gentlemen, I face it in my township. Ours is a secretary, and without them, people like ours and Pam, we'd all be lost. If she keeps you guys in order and our secretary keeps us in order too. And title means nothing, but knowing that you've got 4 years to relax to your next term is, in my opinion, the best you give an employee. Thanks for doing it.
The issue of appointing the chief clerk annually, I think, was like many things that happen sometimes in county government where it becomes some type of tradition, or people read the code one way or the other, and so we kind of just continued that. And you know, after looking into it, you know, obviously we want Pam here, and we think that she's done a marvelous job in the past 4 years, and we're very happy with her. So I wholeheartedly support her for the term.
Very good. The motion was to appoint Jane Matvey as the chief clerk for Montgomery County. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Next on the agenda, board appointments. I have, based on experience, interest, and roughly equal amounts of time commitment, drafted a recommendation that the board adopt the following schedule for this term. Myself representing the commissioners on the EMS Council, the COG Fire Services, the 911 Northern Tier Consortium, which actually is not truly formed that yet, but the commissioners from the region met about it. It will be starting in the new year. Local Emergency Preparedness Committee, Crime Stoppers, Northwest Commission, the Penn State Ag Extension, and Conservation District. Commissioner Durbin, the Area Agency on Aging, Workforce Development Board, for which I would like to serve as the alternate, in case you can't go. The Economic Opportunity Council, Warren County Visitors Bureau, Warren Forest High Ed Council, Penn Soil Conservation, Salvation Army of Warren County, of Warren, and the CCAP Natural Gas Task Force. For Commissioner Eggleston, the Library, Transit Authority, Children and Youth, Transportation Advisory, Mental Health at ATOD, Redevelopment Authority, Blight Review Committee, and the Housing Authority. Any discussion about my proposal?
The only thing that I would just note is that the Housing Authority Board is something that we consider new.
Oh, right.
And just that, that's something that we've talked about for a while, that the commissioner should have some vested interest in the Housing Authority. And we've kind of generally been surprised that we don't have a board position there, so.
Right. But we should still vote on that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to wait.
And these board appointments are for the calendar year 2020?
Actually, it's for the
Or you-
duration of the term.
Duration of the term?
Yeah, but if you want to switch them up,
Well, that's what I was
you know,
thinking.
18 months or 2 years, that's perfectly fine.
Certainly.
The only thing I would say is that there are some of them, namely, at least the Workforce Development Board, which takes, and the Northwest Commission, which takes so much time to get familiar with all the programs that it probably doesn't make sense to switch. Which is partly why I'm saying I should be the Workforce Development Board alternate, because I've been on the board, so I know it. But yeah, I see, I have no problem with switching at some point during the term. And then the other thing to note is I'd like 2 changes in the future. Previously, if one of us was going to miss a meeting, we just didn't go or send a representative, and I would like to extend the offer any time I have a board meeting that I'm going to miss, to ask one or both of you to go in my stead, so that there's commissioner representation, and most importantly, that you get to meet them and they get to meet you. The other thing is, early in the last term, we talked about either having a repository of all the board minutes and such packets from, and I've gone ahead and started doing that for myself. I think that would be a good thing for us to do, but more importantly, I'd like to use the commissioner comment period at the commissioners' meetings to give an update if there is one on the boards that you attend. So it'll take a few minutes more preparation, but it's a good time to let the other commissioners know what they're doing as the representative of the body.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And I think that's, just kind of looking over everything you've prepared. That's the one thing with this that's really important to understand is like each one of these could be a job in some cases, like because there's so much stuff to digest. And one of the challenges is when you divide it up is trying to share as much information with everybody else as possible. So I think formalizing a method of sharing that and making it a recurring thing, even if it becomes tedious at times, is a good thing, just so that everybody's on the same page. Because it happens every once in a while where like another commissioner will bring something to the group and say, hey, this is an issue that we've had for months, and maybe everybody else had some piece of a solution or could have been involved in it, but then, that kind of stuff, so.
If I can make a recommendation, do you send out letters then at the beginning of the year to each of these boards saying, this is the commissioner who will, okay?
We normally do, but many of them it's a requirement for their documentation purposes.
And I think this is another one of those things where, kind of going along with all the other discussions about, Pam's utilization of time and other things where we could bring those board minutes and information to her, and this could be part of like the digitization effort to kind of like, create a repository with that kind of stuff that can be viewable by everybody.
Yeah, if we were responsible in bringing it back, I'm sure that'd be easy enough.
I'm sure she's
When I approached Pam about helping me scan my 3-foot-tall pile of papers, she was not as
That sounds exciting, doesn't it?
Well,
and honestly, I'm assuming that the majority of these, and I don't know because I've not sat on any of these boards, but that the commissioners would receive something electronically, which, prior to or afterwards, so there wouldn't be the need for printing it out, rescanning. So there's a process that we can work on to help streamline that, so it's available, but not a lot of additional manual labor.
Yeah, for most of them, we'll get forward.
Yeah. So.
And then,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking when we talk about these things, it would be good to, so that we understand anything that's material we want to bring forward. But if it's little nits and naps, we wouldn't want to spend our time on that. That was my only comment.
Absolutely.
How do you?
Well, what I was thinking is like along the lines of what we've been working on with the COG on that, you know, the virtual hub for the townships.
Yeah.
Maybe we just have a page that's for the commissioners, like on the website, and then put all that stuff in there, and then if we want to peruse it, you know what I mean, like, just as a place to.
We could use Pam's Laserfiche file.
Yeah, I haven't, that's another thing I gotta get access to, because I don't.
I was gonna say, you should all have access to the Laserfiche Commissioner's folder.
Well, anyway, with that, if there's no amendments to my proposal, then I would ask for a motion to approve the board appointments as presented.
Is it your turn, Mike? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the board appointments as presented.
And I will second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Any comment? Very good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. Thank you very much. Also, I wanted to note, partly for your knowledge, but also for public knowledge, these are the following boards that the commissioners serve on all together, all three of us. Obviously, the Board of Commissioners, the Salary Board, the Election Board, the Retirement Board, the Prison Board. If we had a sinking fund, there would, as well, we would be on that as well. The Council on Governments, the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, Warren Forest Human Services, Rouse Estate, the Warren County Chamber of Business and Industry, the Records Improvement Fund, the department heads, the endowment funds, the Northwest County Commissioners Association, and the Safety and Security Committee. Come to think of it, I guess CCAP as well. In the next year, I may also be joining the 911. I am requesting that I join the 911 Advisory Committee. The governor would have to appoint me to that. It's something that I would like to serve on, and I've made that known to the governor's office. Do you want to talk about the oversight concept, or not at this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would be good.
Very good. So my proposal was that each commissioner be sort of a liaison to every department in the county government. And in that way, we're not all tasked with understanding the ins and outs of every office, and those offices know kind of who to go to, at least initially, to bounce ideas and questions and such off of. So I've more or less been serving that role at public safety. Many of the projects that they've undertaken in the last 4 years, I've been pretty involved in and very much aware of, and that helps me become an advocate. So I'd like to keep that. I think I would also like to serve as the liaison to the sheriff's office and the coroner's office, as well as the jail. Of course, we all sit on the prison board, so. But again, you know, if they're looking for commissioner comment or feedback or something really quickly, they can call me. District attorney, victim witness, adult probation, human resources, domestic relations, pathonetary, and obviously all three of us have to be involved in fiscal. There's no getting around that. That is our primary responsibility. My recommendation was that the auditors, Commissioner Durbin, liaison with the auditors, information technology, veterans affairs, planning and zoning, common pleas, MBJ's hearing, veterans affairs, treasurer, register and recorder, Commissioner Eggleston, tax assessment, tax claim, elections and voter registration, public defender, juvenile probation and maintenance, children and youth, mental health, ATOD, and of course, again, fiscal. So again, this doesn't mean that, first of all, that you have to agree with this. I mean, we don't have to do this at all. It's just a recommendation. And it also wouldn't mean that representatives from these departments and agencies couldn't directly contact other people. That would obviously be fine. But I just think that it would make more sense for one of the commissioners to be the subject matter expert, if you would, on such and such topic. And in that way, I can really weigh in with some more gravitas to needs and such, particularly budget time, because at least that commissioner shouldn't be surprised with any kind of budget request from those offices. So what do you think?
So the idea with this, at least from my understanding, is that over the past couple of years, we've at different times talked about the idea of having like a staff meeting, or having a meeting where the directors would come and meet with the commissioners, and it would discussion of like policy and direction and different stuff like that, but the issue that we constantly have is running into the issue of sunshine law, you know, and then having like a public meeting where there's this, you know, big discussion. Rather than, and the thing is most of the time, most of the stuff that we deal with doesn't rise to that level anyway. So the idea, at least from my perspective, is that, you know, like each commissioner kind of divides, we divide this up, you know, potentially this way, and, you know, each commissioner takes responsibility for initiating conversations with the director, and then, you know, when there's issues or things that need to be brought up to the board, that it's brought here, and then we discuss it, you know, as a part of our regular meetings. From my perspective, this only works if all three are committed to working openly with each other, and then, you know, all, you know, issues are brought, that are needed to be brought to the table when they need to be. You know, because the challenge with this that can happen is, you know, if everybody's not on the same page, you get into an area where somebody might want to talk to Ben, you know, or talk to you and see what you think, and then talk to Ben and see what he thinks, and then, you know, try to figure out a way to, you know, have an issue there. Whereas, you know, as long as everybody kind of, we can openly discuss it like in a meeting and bring everything here that needs to be brought, then there shouldn't be any kind of issue.
I'm not opposed to that. Of course, I'm the one that doesn't have as much experience, breadth, or depth of knowledge, so certainly I'm always willing to try. You guys both have 4 years of that, and I think it's a suggestion that you have. I'm certainly not opposed to that whatsoever. I think it's a good idea to try. The only thing I would think about, and I don't know for sure given my new role, is the human resources section. And although I don't want to be the point person on that by any stretch of the imagination, but I know, actually, I'm just thinking that it's more of an administrative function, and like the fiscal,
Yeah, right.
we might want to have that.
Well, conveniently, the fiscal and HR offices are the same person, so that's easy to.
There you go. That was my only comment on the list.
The reason that I say that is that I put it under me was largely because there are sometimes there are snap decisions that need to be made, and
Sure.
HR will come to the commission, like come to the chair for.
Sure, that's fine.
But by no means am I saying that, you know, you shouldn't be involved in another department or something.
No, I understand.
If you have an HR question, obviously.
Sure.
That half of these departments work for the three of us. The other half are obviously elected.
Yes.
And so in the ones that are under us, it's oversight, and the ones that are under other elected officials, that's a liaison.
I think part of the way to address it too is that, as an example, like if a director didn't feel like the commissioner that they were communicating with, you know, was properly addressing whatever issue they were having, that we would immediately say, okay, well, we'll come to a work session and we'll have a discussion at the work session about it. Again, the whole goal is just to avoid, you know, sunshine law issues where we're privately deliberating over like an issue in a department, you know, without any kind of a public discussion about whatever changes being made. And I would just as like a couple of examples. So, you know, like tax assessment as an issue. Working over the course of the year, say, you know, Brian Bull, the director, has XYZ plan to, you know, hit a certain number of houses in a period of time. And one of our goals in this term is to kind of monitor all these different departments to a higher level, with, you know, to kind of create metrics that we can track. So I might work with him and get that plan together, bring it here and go over it with everybody, maybe even with Brian present, but to have a firm understanding of it, so that if we want to make changes to it, then, you know, then that would be the subject matter thing. Is like a second example would be, I've had conversations with Pam about the idea of meeting with, you know, the maintenance department on a regular basis and because we just installed the ticketing system, you know, and kind of monitoring that, and then like any issues with that, bringing that back to commissioners to discuss. And that also kind of alleviates us needing to meet constantly as a group, you know, which frankly, in most cases is, you know, it's not unnecessary, it's a lot of work.
I think it's great. I'm a believer in a point of contact system and chain of command, and that sounds a lot like what this is, so
Okay.
I'm certainly
Well,
supportive.
then let's give it a go. I don't think we need to vote on anything, it's more or less informal. Very good. The only other thing I draw your attention to during the reorganizational meeting is the order of how I've been structuring the meetings. So the work sessions, for instance, have public hearing, old items of discussion, new items of discussion, quarterly objectives, which we haven't used fully, but I'd like to start using a little bit more. And projects, both active and if you want to bring something to the board, a backlog. Reviewing the commissioners' meeting that's upcoming, as well as any department committee updates, commissioner schedule, general discussion, and then if need be, retire to executive session. It's kind of a surprise question to you all, but is there anything that strikes you that should be changed at this time on how we generally run work sessions? And this isn't like a final thing. If you be thinking about it, if there's something you want to change in the future, let me know. And then the general commissioners meeting, besides the order announcements, have the public comment next, so that if people want to leave before we go into the voting part, they can. The consent agenda, there was a change I made a couple of years ago, just slide the things that are not going to be controversial, such as the minutes and proclamations and such, under one vote, and then continue to have individual votes on each resolution under old or new business. Personnel transaction report is simply to make public the hires and changes in employment that we've made since the last meeting. And then commissioner comment period would be where you can talk about, honestly, maybe we should just move correspondence there and strike it from the announcement. But either way, that would be part of you can talk about your boards or any projects that you want to work on in the commission meeting. Generally sound all right? All right. And with that, I believe we have concluded everything we need to talk about in the reorganizational meeting, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn that meeting and move into the work session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn and move to the work session.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at
Can we just make one comment about the distribution of the offices and that? I just wanted to let the new commissioner know that the court offices are separate. They don't work for the commissioners. They work for the president judge. So any communications with those departments would have to go through the president judge and the department head together, you know, if there's any communications is all. So I just wanted to make that aware.